and the DOTs. Just a few household rules. If you do have any questions, please post them in the questions box as part of your GoToWebinar channel panel, and we'll get to those questions at the end so that we have them all collected. Beyond that, this is going to take about, we'll estimate about 45 minutes or so. It's going to be interactive between myself and Michael, and let's get started. Mike, any questions from your end?
No, great. Let's jump into it.
Okay, cool. So the next slide, click. Here we go. We got a quick little agenda. First, we're going to talk a little bit about some background about Cadac and Infragistics. Then the next part, we'll dive into a little bit about what e-construction collaboration means, what our experience is, and what the advantages can be. We have an interesting use case here that we're going to be talking about. Obviously, we're going to demo parts of the solution, and I'm actually very excited that we're joined today with by Michael, because he's going to show Michael. He's going to show some interesting technology that also makes everything we do with our SharePoint platform, because our solution is SharePoint based, how you can use that in a mobile setting. Whether you're traveling, you're on the construction site, you still need to have access to important documents and make sure that they're approved and they're following the workflow process. Obviously, at the end, we'll have a bit of a Q&A. So about both Cadac and Infragistics. I'll run over this fairly quickly because obviously credentials are important, but not the most important thing. The two things that I would like to draw your attention to is, one, we're an Autodesk partner, and secondly, we're a Microsoft Gold Certified partner. So we have a long history of developing a SharePoint-based engineering solution, and not just for DOTs, but for a great number of clients. And an important thing about our company is that we only focus on engineering and construction. That's the only vertical that we deal with. We deal with that vertical in many different settings. Obviously, oil and gas is different from large construction projects for a DOT, but that's what we're focused on. So if you take a look at some of our work and some of our background and experience that we have, as an example, a mining company down in Chile, North America, and Canada, and they use our product on all of their major capital projects. Another one, which is a little bit more close by, is Virginia Department of Transportation, and they've used our application. They're still using our application on a great number of projects. And we're going to reference some of the examples here as well. Another one is a oil and gas company where pipeline, the establishments of pipelines overseas are managed with the solution that we have based on SharePoint. Operations and maintenance work for a joint venture between Jacobs, Shell, and AMEC, some pretty well-known names. And our solution is used to manage all of the offshore platforms in the North Sea. More in the petrochemical sphere, we deal with the drawings that go on at petrochemical plants. There is a specific process, what we call concurrent engineering, management of change for petrochemical plants. That's where some of our expertise falls into. And then one of our recent wins that we have is also a petrochemical plant. So we are very proud to say that we call ourselves experts in engineering collaboration, and we help people accelerating how you deliver projects. And we use Microsoft technology and more detail the SharePoint platform in order to achieve that. So we've developed a whole range of tools to achieve that. And today I'm joined by the hip by Mike, who's going to talk about how we extend that into the mobile workforce and to make that even a better experience than what we already have. Mike, I'm going to hand it over to you to do a bit of an introduction here.
Great. Yeah. Thanks for that intro, Edwin. As far as Infragistics, we've actually been in the Microsoft ecosystem for 20 plus years. On our mobility side, which is our SharePlus product, We have over 1.5 million users globally, and we really kind of specialize in, mobile solutions that not only give business users the latest and greatest as far as their content, but also a little bit more as far as, some self-service BI as well. That, in conjunction, having data and content next to each other, users are able to work a little bit more efficiently and able to access all of that information regardless if they're online or where they're, on site or not. So you can go to the next slide. So Share Plus has been around for about 7 years. It's a native iOS and Android application, and basically it taps into your existing infrastructure and allows your end users to actually interact with that content. Whereas most of the back-end infrastructure that's built doesn't really play well on the mobile, or there's credential prompts and there's a lot a disparity in the experience. So we've actually, Share Plus has been around for about 7 years, and we've optimized that experience to better fit the user. And you can go to the next slide here, Edwin. Yeah, and one of the ways that we do that is we have a platform called Workspaces, which we allow users to and organizations to kind of custom tailor the experience around their end users' workflow, so that you have tons of different content aggregated and surfaced up front, and a custom navigation that's kind of built around your end user's workflow, which really ends up really empowering that user to get to that content without needing training or having to converse a very clumsy intranet site or an experience that they're not aware of. This next slide here is something I alluded to with the analytics and data visualization piece. This is another offering that we have in our product that allows you to take any of that information that you're storing in SharePoint and gain insights on it quickly without having to bring it into Excel and worry about clumsy pivots or anything like that. You have a nice kind of dashboarding experience, which we'll kind of get to in the demo. Go ahead, Edwin. And these are just some of the logos that we work with. You'll notice a lot of heavy construction here, roadway. The state of North Carolina actually is standardized on us for all of their DOT operations and subcontractors. So they use this to log their daily journals and basically collaborate across their SharePoint site from a mobile perspective. And you'll see a lot of other kind of big names in construction there as well. Go ahead, Adam.
Excellent. So Mike, thank you for the introduction there. So obviously there was a reason why we're working together here, and Cadac has an advanced document control solution. And as I mentioned before, our solution is 100% based on SharePoint, whether it is SharePoint Online, which is actually gaining a lot of interest lately, or it's more of a SharePoint on-premise, because you could be in either one of those situations where you have a need for strong document control. And as I mentioned, Infragistics really is an extension of the power that we already have, but to extend it out to the mobile workforce. So we both have a tremendous experience in engineering and construction, and we really want to offer the best user experience anytime, anywhere, on any device as you need for your project to be more efficient. So if we take a little bit about, take a little look at what e-construction collaboration is and what our experience is in there and why do you need it, then if I sort of dumb it down, you could think about, okay, so if I'm running a project then and I think about the documents that flow between me and my contractors and between myself and maybe some other parties, so how do I know who's doing what? Because I'm receiving documents that need to be reviewed. Who's working on what? Are they done? Is it completed? How do I turn these things around within the given contractual time? Because very often a contract that you execute, certainly on the larger jobs, there's always some type of turnaround time for documentation that's sent to you, being it 21 days, 15 days, 12 days, 10 working days. We've seen a whole lot of differences in the different ways that contracts are set up. Give me 1 second. All right, just needed to get a little sip of ink. So how do you share information? How do you make sure that the other party gets it without overloading your FTP site, without losing track of who's using what, and how do I access the information from virtually any location I am at, whether I have connection or not, I still need to have access to the information that I need to work with. So here's one solution, and it's called Excel. Mostly everybody has it. It turns out to be a pretty nice nightmare. So if you don't have any system at all in place, what I see a lot of people turn into is they open up Excel and they start hammering out line item by line item, who's reviewing it, who has it, when does it need to be back, what's the data about the document, what part of the project is it part of, which work package should it go into, etc., etc. And I'm pretty sure that people are nodding their heads, or I hope people are nodding their heads and go, yes, I've been there. Hopefully I don't have to go back there. So that's one solution that obviously doesn't work. Another approach is that you say, well, you know what, we don't need all of this technology because there's so many solutions out there that can help us. From between OneDrive and MediaFire, there's a whole long list of ways to easily send information with other people, but you still have no clue whether did we send it back on time, or they responding on time, and what's the status of that document, and many different questions surrounding. So yes, I can transfer it, but did I send it to the right people, and who has access there, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So these kind of hodgepodge solutions also raise many different questions that are that make things more complicated than they initially seem to be if you start thinking about this. So why do I need some special software? I kind of raised that already, but I want to go into the business case a little bit more and explain that a little bit. So I've got two graphs from two different projects. So on this end, the horizontal line, we see a timeline in terms of months. So from March, April, May, June, July, August, etc. And this one is a little bit more condensed because the project was running a little bit longer. This one was running for 20 months, and this one is running for over 50 months, still going on. And this bar here, it might be a little bit small for some people, but you can kind of see the number 140 there and the number 2000. So if you have an agreement, and what this bar is showing you is the amount of documentation that was sent to a certain DOT for the amount of documents that needed to be reviewed for two projects. And obviously you don't have one or two projects, you have a whole range of projects. So if you're receiving over 100 documents a month that need to be reviewed by a group of people, need to be sanctioned, needs to be consolidated reviews, you need to have a workflow. You cannot just go and say, send this to everybody in the team and we'll see what happens. That's going to be pretty much a nightmare for everybody. So what people do, they establish a RACI matrix, so who's responsible, who's accountable, who can contribute, who needs to get information. So what type of information needs to go where. That matrix needs to be implemented. That's something that we can import in our system, and that establishes how you distribute information. And the more that, so if you have a smaller project, obviously the problem is not as big, but the bigger your project is, then the more challenges you will run into. And if you're then choosing a technology that only works on your desktop, is only available through, let's say, Citrix, and is not available through an iPad, then you're limiting the ability for people to quickly respond to potentially critical information with a fast turnaround. And that has a huge impact on how your project evolves, and it can have a very big impact on the project. So based on that, I'm kind of reiterating what I had a discussion about with some of the people that we work with, Dave Covington, and they did a project in the lovely state of Virginia, and he literally claims, not because of us, but he did say that thanks to the Cadac software and thanks to the fact that we have mobile capability, it was a huge benefiting factor. If we did not have those tools available, then we might have won something because we had a good team, we had really strong communication, but because we had the ability to really quickly interact with it, we had workflows established, a document comes in, it's almost automatically distributed, people know where to go. Even on Friday afternoons or Saturday afternoons, they got five minutes over, they got 5 minutes left, they open up their iPad, they do a quick review, and they send it back. That can be such a time saver to get things back out again so that your contractor can continue their work, and that can have a huge impact on how you deliver your project. And in this case, it had a huge impact. And again, it's not only because of our solution, there's many more things that play a part of it, but I do tend to think, and that was also one of his statements, we were a big help. So a major advantage that Dave also brought up was the ability to access the data anytime, anywhere, from almost any device. Because without it, you're locked to, I can only get it when I'm behind my DOT computer, which are very often they're locked down because of security reasons. So the systems that we deploy, they're warranted against the most stringent security requirements that are imposed to us. And so these are some clear advantages on what the solution can do for you. So let's jump into a bit of the solution in a demo. And I'm just going to run through a bit of a scenario here, show you some screens, and Mike is going to jump into an actual live demo, and then we're going to kind of close it off with some Q&A and hopefully talk to you later. So the demo scenario that I have up here that we prepared is, let's say a typical scenario is a review package is being sent into a DOT. It needs to be reviewed by enough people. So what you would like to see is the package needs to be logged by a contractor. You want to give him online access. The documents are then distributed to the team, and your team is automatically notified. Then they need to have the ability to review those documents and to do a consolidation. And at the end, you need to have the ability to send a consolidated response back with an overview of the challenges that you found within these documents. And along the way, and that's where Share Plus plays a big role, is that whether you're on your desktop, which I'm going to show that, Mike is going to do the exact same exercise, or not 100%, but a big portion of that exercise, but just using an iPad, which is pretty cool. So anyway, so the first use case is if I'm a contractor, I'm going to get access to a certain part of the system. So I log into the system and I see the packages that I've already submitted, and I'm ready to submit a set of sheets that need to be reviewed by one of the DOTs that we're doing a project with. So there's a nice big button here that says add a new record, and if I click that, it's going to give me a quick wizard that shows me, okay, what's the transmittal number that I generated, what's the reason for issue, when was it transmitted, what's the description, do we need a response, yes or no, because you can think of different types of scenarios here, from RFIs to payment sheets to, there could be a whole slew of information that you're requesting here. But in this case, it's relatively simple, so they move on, they submit this, and where you will end up as if you're the contractor, the system then will open up this package so that you can easily and quickly just drag and drop those files into this area here, and then, so I got a big project sheet 1 and big project sheet 2, but obviously this works with huge numbers. So we've seen occasions where, actually in one of the first projects we did 5 years ago, there wasn't, it's a bit of a funny story, but how they were submitting information, there wasn't, the people didn't really discuss how they were going to do that. So at some point they were sending in like 4,500 pictures that were taken by a camera system, because part of the agreement was that they would needed to submit every month what the security images were that were taken by a contractor. And obviously that doesn't work. Well, nobody's going to review 4,500 images, but it just kind of explain that it almost doesn't matter what the sizes of your packages, and we've seen packages up to 1,000, 1,500 files. The system will just continue work and move on. So in this case, it's only two, so you would drag them in, and once you've done that, you will get like a nice little Excel spreadsheet that will ask you, okay, dear contractor, great that you sent me some information, but you'll need to help me a little bit. And this is part of the implementation that we would do. We would work with you to figure out what is the minimum information that you would need from your contractor so that we can automatically distribute this information for a review. And in this case, we're telling, okay, we need the name, we would like to see the number and the revision number, we would like to see the discipline because that allows us to set up the distribution list, and we would like to see a document title. So all of the other ones, they're optional, and that's a matter of configuration. Once that is done, the contractor would hit the submit button, and if the information is submitted, the document controller has the ability to then review that information and accept it. So after the package is submitted by your contractor, the document controller on the DOT side, they get a nice little notification saying, please check and accept. It's a transmittal from Acme Contractors, and these are alignment sheets for road construction. And if you click on this particular hyperlink, it opens up that package. You can view the files, and you can. This is where document control has the ability to interact and say, great, I'm going to accept it because this is exactly what I was expecting to receive. Or they have the ability to say, sorry, but you're sending me alignment sheets, but they're payment stubs. You made a mistake. Please correct, update the package, and resend it again. The big advantage is it doesn't pass that gatekeeper, so you're not pushing this information into your review team, who then is going to review information that's actually wrong and then needs to go back. And so it's also saving you time in that particular workflow because of how it's set up. Obviously, then documents are automatically distributed. So when you look at the SharePoint system, then we have a section which is control documents. And I'm understanding that I'm going over this fairly quickly, and we're kind of assuming that people are familiar with what SharePoint is and what a document library is, et cetera, et cetera. But in the materials section, we have documents that are open review documents. These are all from Acme Contractors. Here's 4, 5, 6. They're currently in review. I can click on this hyperlink, and it takes me back to the original package. And being somebody who needs to review these files, I can now see, if I would go into the details, what the system did for me. So the document was submitted, and associated with that document, there's a whole bunch of metadata, which is partially automatically set up and partially document control can add information to it. So there's a section that describes the document itself. Then there is information, then there's the files that are part of this record. But what it also does, it establishes a timeline that allows you to keep track of when this information needs to be back. So the document was received. Document control took a quick first glance look at it and said, yep, package seems to be okay. This is okay to be reviewed. That automatically resulted into a distributed set to everybody who's, or not everybody, to specific individuals on this team with specific due dates for when they need to complete the review. So the operations people, they have a few days, the process guy has a few days, the project manager has a few days, and the process lead, he needs to do a response before the 18th. So with that, with this information, you can accurately start keeping track if you're meeting those deadlines that you have in your contract, or if you're not meeting those deadlines. So if I'm one of those reviewers, and this is where it becomes really cool, if I'm one of those reviewers, you just have a simple task list. So you click on, you get your daily email that says, here's the 15 things you need to do, and you click on that, and what it does, it actually takes you to this hyperlink. So you get an email every day that says you need to review, you need to approve, you need to provide a response, you need to comment, you need to do whatever the activity might be. and it tells you exactly what that document is, what the discipline is, what the revision is, etc. All you have to do is click on one of these links, and that opens up the actual built-in viewer. So whether it's a drawing, whether it's a contract, the system then automatically starts assembling all of the reviews from everybody who's using the system, which is very similar to how other systems like a Bluebeam, how they operate. So everybody can go in at the same time, everybody does their feedback, there's a complete symbol library included, so if you're reviewing P&IDs or sheets or whatever it may be, there's a complete ISO symbol library included that's going to help you with that activity. So people do their review, and in this case somebody made a mistake, so there's a little post-it note with a revision cloud. This number is wrong, it needs to be updated to something else. And then as part of that, we automatically assemble that information and send it over to the lead reviewer, who needs to consolidate all of these reviews into a final package that goes back. Once that process is done, and I'm giving a bit of an overview here, we're not showing every single detail because obviously there's some detail left and right, but once those reviews are completed, the document control person assembles a transmittal with the document goes back, and which means that all of the comments that were electronically done, they're now also electronically available for the receiving end when this document goes back. And the person receiving this, there's a nice little hyperlink here that says click here to download this transmittal, or click here to view this transmittal, which means that if you click that link, if you're the receiving party, you click that link, then it downloads a nicely formatted zip file with the transmittal cover sheet, with all the comments, with all of the documents, with the comments actually in the PDF included, to make that workflow between you and your contractor so much easier, instead of forward and backward with papers and sheets and manual Excel sheets, and which is really a lot of work to deal with. Which brings me really to the end. Again, this is a bit of a high overview of what we do on the SharePoint platform with our expertise, and we're really excited to now also bring in the Share Plus tool from Infragistics to extend this out to the mobile force. So Mike is going to talk about two components here. He's going to show a little bit about the workspace, but also one of the more exciting, or they're both exciting, but from a BI component, this is really cool stuff because people can on the fly do like these dashboards on your iPad, which makes it so much more intuitive for individuals. While you're in a meeting, you open up your little dashboard and you go, these are the 20 files that are too late from you. What's up? Where are they? Why are they too late? And we got to hurry up. So Mike, with that, I'm going to conclude my little part of the presentation. You want to switch to your screen?
Yeah, thanks. Just give me 1 second while I present. And Edwin, just give me a heads up when you see my screen here.
I do see your screen. I see an iPad with an app store.
Okay, excellent. So what I'm basically displaying right now is my I'm AirPlaying my iPad, so this isn't any type of emulator, so you're kind of seeing this in real time. So Edwin brought up a lot of great points about how switching to an electronic system and versus paper, not only is a lot more efficient, but saves a lot of time and increases productivity. So with Share Plus, which I'm going to go ahead and launch here, we've actually brought that productivity, from the desktop platform to the mobile platform. So here you'll see what we call a workspace, and it's a lot of the same concepts of what Edwin showed you. But imagine the ability to do those same approvals and document review right from the mobile device. So you're out of the office, it's a weekend, and a project is behind, and you have all of these pending reviews. Here you launch Share Plus from your phone or tablet, and you're actually brought to an experience that is customized around you and really simple to use. So I can go ahead and tap on one of these approvals that are there. I can actually pull up the plans inside of my mobile device. If I wanted to do any annotations or markups on here, I actually can. I could do comments as well as do a stamped approval or anything like that if I wanted to. Or if everything looks good and I don't need to make any changes or comments, I can actually go in here and switch this to an approved status, and then save those changes right back up to that same platform that Cadac is providing. And this is immensely valuable because you don't have to be behind a desk, you don't have to be in the office. A field worker can have this iPad on site where the actual plans are being used. He can open it up and approve it from his mobile device, and then instantly have those changes sync back up to the back end. That enables users to be almost 85% more productive. There's some Gartner statistics around mobility and how that increases user productivity. And we all use email on our phone, and a lot of times when you can gain access to things quicker from a mobile device, you can just take care of the work that has to be done, and it just really allows you to be a lot more productive, all with using the same back end. So you'll see here I have a widget that shows my pending approvals, which I currently have 3 documents. So in just a series of 2 or 3 taps, I can now approve those 3 documents rather than waiting till the next work day and then signing into my computer and doing it via the browser. So it just allows that to get done. And one of the cool things too is we can actually do this on or offline, whether or not you have a network connection. So an engineer or a field service guy can go on site where maybe there is, it's a remote area or there's no connection. He can actually approve those plans or those blueprints on a site. And when he gets back into the office or back onto a Wi-Fi connection, those approvals will just sync back up and kick off whatever workflow is associated with them. So there's, kind of a lot that we can kind of customize. And again, I know we're going kind of very high level here. We're giving you just kind of a quick glimpse of all the capabilities and things that we can do. But, in a nutshell, that workflow does not need to stop because you're on a mobile device or you're not in the office. So, while the Cadac solution is helping you from the desktop and the back-end standpoint, we can extend that to mobile and make you, almost double as productive, because now you have access to it anywhere on any device that you're going to be using. And almost everybody has a smartphone now, so you're enabled on the go. The other cool part that Edwin had alluded to in SharePlus is we have that reporting piece. So this middle widget here that says reports, I can actually have some data visualization on my business data. So if I actually tap on this project status, which is the screenshot that he showed you, this is actually pulling information from a SQL backend that's storing information on my projects. Or if you track that in SharePoint, we can even surface it here. So, and these are actually designed and built right on the mobile device. So you don't have to be a crazy developer to build these. It's literally dragging and dropping fields and then just choosing the visualization that you want. We have some color themes in there. Obviously that neon green isn't the best one to go with. But you can easily kind of create these dashboards that give you a lot of insight into the data that you can actually run your business on. I actually have one more example to show here when it comes to that document control, and that's this document control dashboard. And imagine being on your mobile device and being able to see, okay, here's how many documents were processed by each employee. So you can obviously see that John is working a little bit harder, and we can track basically what submittals have been done, how many need review, and essentially do it in real time. So that rather than waiting for a monthly report to come out on the computer or for your internal systems to run that report, you can actually open up the very same app that you're using to approve documents and view a dashboard that tells you how behind or how ahead of the game you are in an instant, without having to do any kind of coding, and right alongside all the other content that you're working with. And we're extremely flexible in that. You can obviously have multiple reports. There's lots of filtering and different things like that we can do, but it basically brings not only something to mobile that you typically wouldn't do, which is SharePoint, but it also brings analytics and empowers that end user to be able to have the analytics that make their job more efficient, and allows them to be empowered to be more efficient at their job with a really kind of one-touch, two-touch workflow that nobody needs training here, right? It's very obvious that there's a pending approval and the reports are right in front of my face. So you can hand this to any kind of rough and tough construction guy, and they can pick it up and start using it without having to be aware of what the back end is and all that. So Edwin, I know we have 10 minutes back. I can pass it back to you. Edwin, are you there?
Sorry, I was on mute.
Yep, no worries.
Sure.
I'm going to pass control back to you if you want to kind of loop back to the presentation. But from a mobile perspective, it's kind of a brief kind of skim of what SharePlus can do in conjunction with Cadac solution. Delivering great usability and analytics all on the same platform for a mobile device.
All right, thank you, Mike. So with that, we've kind of came to the end of what our presentation is about, and we wanted to open up the floor a little bit for any questions that you might have. So we'll give everybody a little bit of time to think about it. The session is being recorded, so we'll send out the recording to folks as well, so that you can kind of review what we've talked about, and if there's an interest to further discuss this topic, please reach out to us. There's a phone number and a kind of bluish, I hope everybody can read it, email address, so reach out. More than happy to talk, discuss what's on your mind, and I'm pretty sure we can help in one way or the other. So I see one question which talks a little bit about what version of SharePoint. So our solution is compatible with, and Mike, correct me if I go wrong here, but for your end, the solution is compatible with SharePoint 2010, 2013, 2016, and we do have a part of the solution available for Office 365. Mike, does that? I think that's pretty okay on your end as well.
Yep,
right?
correct. We work just fine with all those environments from our end as well.
Okay, perfect. So we deliver our solution either in an on-premise environment. That's the next question from Joe. Either in an on-premise environment or completely hosted. So we can tailor to completely a subscription-based per project type model or perpetual licensing, and you buy the whole solution set, and that's part of it. That works a little bit different on the Infragistics side, but so we're very flexible in terms of how we can deliver the solution set. All right, I see one question about tracking the comments. Do we capture the comments individually in some type of database? And the answer is yes. We do track the comments individually in a database, and which is, we didn't go into that, but it is kind of an important part, but because when people are doing the reviews, it's critical to, so if you got 20 files, it doesn't really matter, but if you have 1,000 files with 1,000 pages each, then it does become important to quickly identify what are the critical comments, because typically what we see is there's like a categorization between 1 and 4 or 5, or some type of categorization where you can go, okay, category 1, that's a big no-no, completely out of bounds with the agreement that we have and needs to be fixed in the next revision, red alert, red alert. So we keep track of those individually, and there's actually workflows behind that, so that we can know exactly what issues have been resolved, what comments have been resolved by the contractor, and what time frame, what area of the contract did we have the most comments on, what discipline did we have the most issues with. So we actually take that to kind of to the next level for people that have a need to do that. Let me see if there's any other questions. No, I think that's it. Mike, any final thoughts, comments from your end that you would like to share?
No, I just think that last thing I would just like to throw in there is that embrace that idea of mobility, and you'll see that great increase in productivity. The days of just working from behind a desk in an office, to working on an iPad, you can make yourself a lot more productive when you have access kind of anywhere and any time, right? So I just want to kind of leave everyone with that. Okay, thank you.
So with that, we're going to conclude our session. We're actually a few minutes ahead of schedule. I think Mike and I are talking a little bit faster than we originally anticipated, but that's perfectly okay. I mean, so again, I'm going to thank everybody for their attendance, The session is being recorded, so we'll make that available for people to take a look at their own pace. Hope to see you next time, and have a great day. Thank you.
Excellent. Thanks, everyone.